People, people. What happened last night? Oh, lads, what do we make of last night? What the F happened? What do we have to say? What do we make of it? I don't tend to stay live very long after doing the watch alongs for the simple reason, obviously, I want to get the post fight review out as quick as I can. But I always say, kind of normally, I suppose, in one sense, it's good to react pretty much straight after a fight because you get a good idea of you're in the moment, so you can kind of say what you're seeing. You get the kind of reaction then and there. So I always say, like, it's not a bad idea to essentially react to a fight, post fight, do a reaction video. But when you want to go and actually talk about what actually took place, what transpired over the course of a fight, it's better to really go and give, your 2 cents on it the next day. The next day, in the cold light of day, when you've had a chance to sit down, reflect, talk, or watch it with certainly with the commentary off, that's when you get an accurate idea of what you're essentially working with and what's going on there. And that was basically what happened last night. The Dmitry Bivol Artur Beterbiev fight was a great fight. I mean, I flipping enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant. It, yeah, it left a lot of people divided post fight. Eddie Hearn was coming out in interviews saying it was a robbery. Frank Warren was saying the exact same thing. The zone. I know what was the guy's name? Chris Mannix. He had the fight in Bivol's favor by 1 round, by 1 point going into the 12th round. And maybe again, I looked at the 12th round today and I actually thought it was a Bivol round, but I must have a proper look at it because it seems like everyone I hear was giving that round to Beterbiev. Now, if that was the case, you could definitely say that Beterbiev won the last 3 rounds. So you give him maybe 3 other rounds in the fight to draw. You know, there's a lot of people who feel as though, and you see in the chat straight away here, people saying that Dmitry Bivol won this fight. It's going to be one of those fights that's going to split a lot of people. Definitely, it's definitely going to split a lot of people. I personally, watching it at the time, felt that Bivol did enough to win. I thought he did enough to win. Watching the fight live, which we did last night, seeing how the fight went on, seeing everything that happened, I felt that Dmitry Bivol did just do enough to win it. However, having said that, when I watch it again today, I'm kind of like, that's not such a clear cut decision then. Because you see certain rounds, you listen to it with the sound off, and you're like, Bivol didn't win that round. Or Beterbiev definitely won that round and things like that. So for me, it's kind of I'm not going to turn around and say it was a robbery. It definitely wasn't that. And that word robbery is just used so much in boxing. I mean, if there's one word in boxing that gets just chucked around so often, and it is frustrating when it happens, it's the term robbery. You want to look at a close fight. You look at this fight right here. This fight right here, Bivol Beterbiev, was very close, very competitive, was nip and tuck, could have went either way. And there you go. There you go. You people saying robbery, robbery, robbery. To be honest with you, no. I think that Beterbiev winning, no issue. No issue with that fight whatsoever. Beterbiev winning. Personally, I felt that Bivol probably did just do enough to nick it personally. But yeah, Beterbiev definitely. It's a case of what you like really as well. You could always say that Beterbiev, although he was throwing more and he threw over 1,000 punches, the punch stats were insane by Beterbiev in this fight. For someone again who's used to breaking his opponents down, I mean, he got rid of Callum Smith in what 7? He got rid of Anthony Yard in 8. Prior to that, didn't he take care of Joe? Was it Joe Smith? Yeah, he took care of Joe Smith in 2. So Beterbiev, he doesn't tend to go long very often. He doesn't tend to go long very often. So this was to see the amount of punches he was throwing, it's actually quite impressive for someone who you wouldn't associate Beterbiev with poor stamina, but you wouldn't think of him as being a guy who throws 1,000 punches in a fight. That's a good question by Jack there. Does Dylan White still manage Wardley? Haven't heard from him all week. Yeah, I don't actually think he was at the fight. Now, I'm not sure is he still part of the Dylan White stable or not. Dylan White, I've always said this about Dylan White. He doesn't appear to have the greatest eye for talent. It's more so what they show in the gym. I mean, this guy had Alan Babbage. So I think maybe still does have Alan Babbage. I mean, that kind of says it all there. In terms of Fabio Ward, that's one that, yeah, I think he's done well there, and he's done well with that one. He'd wanna keep Fabio Wadley because Fabio Wadley, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does moving forward because there's a lot of talent there. Frank Warren is absolutely, I mean, Frank Warren has the heavyweight division pretty much on lockdown at this point, and that really is that's good. That's having Fabio Wadley is a good one. There's no clear criteria for scoring fights, that's the problem. Well, clean, effective shots, bring generalship, bring aggression, effective aggression, really. So, when you look at a fight like that, it really is a case of what do you like? Salute me, I had Bivol winning, no issue there. Do you think, you know, I haven't had a chance to do a video on that one. I was going to talk about it a bit on review of the week, but I'll talk about it here very briefly. You really couldn't see, like, I think it was the right foot or the right leg of Ben Whittaker he was claiming was injured. At the end of the day, you couldn't really see what happened. Maybe he hit it off the ring apron, I don't know. But I think that to me, that looked like he was looking for that fight was getting tough for Ben Whittaker, very tough. And I've said this about Ben Whittaker. He's had a couple of shaky performances. He needs to get a proper setup, a training team, and needs to get all that set up. He wasn't showboating, to be fair, in this fight, but he didn't look good. He didn't look good, and I thought he was very lucky. I thought he was very, very lucky not to come out with a draw, to be honest with you. Whitehead down with a silent ban. Man, I don't know about that, but man, he's inactive. That's one thing I know. First of all, Beterbiev outlanded him round by round for punches landed. He was the aggressor. Bivol was done. Championship round. Beterbiev landed more shots. You have to take into consideration it's not just who landed more. I mean, if it was a case of who landed more, well, then you give Beterbiev every round. White McCarthy as well. Yeah, when I say he's not a good eye for talent, that's why I say that. So I'm not expecting much out of Thomas Carty, to be honest with you. Fairly basic, run of the mill. I don't think he's going to do an awful lot of heavyweight, to be honest with you. Pappage bought his own crowd, like Mark. Yeah, yeah, but he can still sell a bit like Johnny Fisher. Yeah, Babbage kind of Eddie Hearn when he was working with him at one point, it was kind of like Eddie Hearn was really selling Alan Babbage. He was bringing his own fans, and I remember Alan Babbage when he started coming into prominence. Alan Babbage was like I remember way back in 2020 when he was unbeaten. You do a post-fight review for Alan Babbage, it could get somewhere between 1,000 to I think one of my post-fight reviews for Babbage got 20 something thousand views, and that was way back in the day when a 20K view was a rarity, maybe once or twice a year back in the day. You could get one of them on an Alan Babbage video if it was a post-fight review or something like that. So Babbage had people were taking notice of him back then. They absolutely were. They were taking notice of him back then, and people and Eddie Hearn was doing well with that. But alas, I mean, the problems you could see they were there. They jumped out at you. They really did. Apparently, he's all okay in hospital. I think it's a broken jaw or something like that. But apparently, he's all okay, which is good, which is very good. I heard anything from Ben Shalom about the Ben Whittaker fight. Yeah, oh, I forgot about Ben Whittaker. When I was talking about the post-fight review, I wasn't actually mentioning Ben Whittaker. Yeah, Shalom had a nightmare. He had an absolute catastrophic night last night. He really did. Flipping himself around the ring. Yeah, it looked bizarre. It really did. Like, it looked bizarre. It didn't look to me like why Ainsley used that avatar for years. I just don't think the camera on the laptop is as good. So I just kind of like, I can keep it on if you want, but I just don't think it's as good. I think it just looks a bit like, off and just, could be a little bit better. Bivol wanted for me to score. They were scoring punches that were on the gloves. Yeah, exactly. You can't score the shots that are on the gloves. So if you're throwing more shots, but they're not scoring shots, you can't score those rounds. But Beterbiev recovered from a knee injury. He will stop Bivol in the next fight as long as it can be within 6 months. That's assuming he doesn't get injured again. Beterbiev has been quite injury prone over the last couple of years. I've got 66 in the building, and if you haven't already, hit the old like button. Smash that like button then and there, boom, jab that like, hit the like button. That's all I'm asking. 66 concurrent viewers, and how many likes do we have? 66 viewers and only 12 likes. That's poor going. That's poor going. Smash that like button, lads. Cabbage Babbage was the new Dave Allen. Well, he was a lot more entertaining than Dave Allen. He was a lot more aggressive than Dave Allen. And Dave Allen, if you're talking about peak for peak, I would say Dave Allen is probably better. Well, definitely better because at least, yeah, Dave Allen was a bit of a letdown on the big stage, but you could see there was little spots of talent there. Nothing major. He would never have won a world title or anything like that, but you could see there was that little bit of something with Dave Allen. With Alan Babbage, you just looked at him and thought, you know what, it's going to be a fun riot. I'm sure as hell going to enjoy it. But this is going to end one way, and it is going to end in absolute tragedy for Alan Babbage. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, my guy has been knocked out in the first round twice in the space of 3 fights. And both of those guys who have knocked him out in the first round, not world beaters. What would you, sorry, I have to look up there. What would you rate the overall entertainment value of the card out of 10? Is this a historic event? I wouldn't say it was a historic event necessarily. I definitely think that it was on paper. The card, I worry about it. I thought that it might go a little bit late because all the fights looked like distance fights, or certainly had the potential to be distance fights. They weren't. They turned out to be a lot better than I think a lot of people were saying. So how would I rate it out of 10? I would give it probably a 6 or a 7. To be honest with you, mate, I give it probably a 6 or a 7. So that's kind. Sorry about that. I think the Wi-Fi in here is a little bit sporadic. I think it literally just kind of like I could see it on my iPhone's over there, and it was literally like boom boom. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. Smashed it just like Stella, just like I had a few Stellas. And thank you to Thunder Productions for the 10 quid. I had Bivol winning the fight, but congratulations to Beterbiev. I would want a rematch. Yeah, rematch definitely. And I think that if it happens within the next kind of 6 to 8 months, I think Bivol is going to be more aggressive, which could make it for an even better fight, because I think that that will mean that Bivol has a better potential to, really stamp his authority. He can bring more shots out of Beterbiev. We could see a bit more drama. I feel like if you turn off cam, we get a longer stream because you more comfortable. Not really. Makes no difference to me whether I'm on or off, to be honest with you. With me, it's just my kind of streams. Whenever I start them, I always kind of go with a goal of 45 minutes to an hour. I don't really want to go over that, primarily because primarily the reason why I don't want to go over an hour is nothing major. It's just that I do that many flipping videos that I want to be able to do other things as well. So I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to record a review of the week. And I want to go out, just even for a walk later on in the evening before settling in for the night. So for me, it's just a case of get the stream on, kind of do 45 minutes to an hour, depending. And that's that. It doesn't really matter to me. I've been on camera for that long now, for years, that it doesn't bother me when I'm on camera or off camera. It means nothing to me. The only reason why I bring the avatar in sometimes is primarily the reason why I bring the avatar in is because you can plug this mic into this laptop, which you can't plug into the iPhone. And it just sounds better on a live stream. This mic here sounds a lot more crisp, a lot more clear than the other one. The other one is fine for just doing an everyday kind of video, talking about boxing news and stuff like that. But this one is great for the live. Like, this one is great for a live stream. So remember Dave Allen saying he was 3 fights away? I remember that. And actually, that Lucas Brown fight, I mean, Lucas Brown was shot to bits when he fought Dave Allen. And he was winning that fight early on. I mean, he was actually doing well against Dave Allen. A shot to bits. A shot to bits, Lucas Brown, he officially won the fight. But if you go and watch it, only about 3 weeks to maybe a month prior, was almost beaten by, I was going to say Sarah Metten, but Kamil Sakalaski. I mean, if you go and see that, he had that fight, I think 3-4 weeks before. Now, they knew the fight was happening in the O2 with Dave Allen at the time, and that was just a little run out for Lucas Brown. I think he got dropped in that fight as well. And yeah, they gave him the decision because you can't lose going into a big fight like that in the O2. I mean, so many people are eating off that. They were never going to give Sakalaski the decision, but that's what happened. and that was more convincing. Obviously, Dave Allen got him with a body shot, but it's barely British level. Yeah, the thing I like about Johnny Fisher is that Johnny Fisher is not he's not living in a bubble. He's not, letting what Eddie Hearn says about him being a world level prospect, but not fighting anyone even remotely close to world level. He's not letting that gas his head. Johnny Fisher, what I like about him when you hear him in interviews, he seems very switched on to the fact that, look, his ceiling is not the highest. He's not the greatest fighter in the world. He's never going to be competing with these guys at the absolute elite level. He's just looking to see where he can go. Do I think he can get the British left title level? Well, I wouldn't put him in anywhere near like Fabio Wadley is the British title, is British champion. I wouldn't put him in anywhere near Fabio Wadley. Nowhere near. He'd get absolutely obliterated. Everyone's saying Beterbiev got old. Don't think he got old. I definitely don't think he got old. He threw 200 plus more punches. I mean, if you got old, you'd never be able to keep that work rate up. No way. Was quite dangerous because he's worried about the power. Oh yeah, you could see that, and he even acknowledged the fact that like the power from Beterbiev is legit. Caden, big up, love the videos, mate. Thanks, mate. I'm still fuming at the result. As I said, man, it was a close fight. It was a close fight. It really could have went either way. Bivol was hitting the guard all night. He didn't get through. Sometimes 116, 112. Beterbiev, interesting. Beterbiev missed their hit gloves way too much. It was a close fight. Yeah, deserves a rematch. Oh, I could see this fight turned into a little trilogy. Ben Whittaker, Jack Massey, Fraser Clark all lost last night. Well, I mean, that might as well be a loss for Ben Whittaker. What was I going to say there? All lost last night. Shalom might be reluctant to put Adam Azim in with Dalton Smith now. What is the deal with Dalton Smith? What, like, you mentioned Dalton Smith there. Like, what is the deal with him? So he was meant to fight on a Matchroom show, and I think he pulled out with an injury. There's no mention of like the severity of the injury. I think I've seen him at a couple of events, as in like in the corner with his dad, and we're hearing nothing about upcoming fights for him. So I wonder what the situation is with Dalton Smith and Eddie Hearn. Is everything okay there? Is he because as soon as Johnny Fisher pulled out with an injury, they had a fight lined up ready to go once he was healed in there straight away with Dave Allen. There's literally nothing said about Dalton Smith. So it's an interesting one you pointed that out. Listen, Ben Shalom wants to get in with the Saudis. If he starts pussyfooting around and not making fights that the Saudis seem keen on making, he's not going to last too long with working with the Saudis. It's as simple as that. He was robbed of a UD. That's the only robbery you think it was. Okay. Shalom needs to pay Warren to advise him on who to sign. I mean, Ben Shalom and Sky have just made... And at the end of the day, when you look at, no disrespect to these guys, but when you look at the next crop of GB talent that are turning over, there's no one on that GB squad from the previous Olympics, the ones just gone there in the summer. There's no one from that Olympic squad that you look at and think a promoter is going to be just rushing to sign. Like Delicious Ori and people like that. Like he went ahead of Moses Atauma. Like Atauma could have easily, at the very least, he would have won silver at these Olympic Games that have just happened. Delicious Ori is nah. But Beterbiev landed in more round according stats. He was the aggressor and had the ring generalship, 3 out of 4 scoring criteria. He had Bivol hurt a couple of times. Yeah, he definitely stunned Bivol noticeably a couple of times. I don't want to say Bivol was, in danger or anything like that, but yeah, he definitely felt the power of Beterbiev. No robbery. It was a great fight, wasn't it? Brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I don't think Beterbiev has a trilogy in him. That's a good point, to be fair. Like, he is 39. He's going on 40 next month. Next month, he'll be 40. No, sorry, not next month. What? I'm losing track of months here. End of January, he'll be 40. So he's not going to be... Wait, what? Delicious Ori has stated in an interview that he's been offered a deal by the WWE. Didn't think he was into wrestling or anything like that, but I mean, he'd probably stand a better chance of winning a world title in wrestling than he would winning a world title in boxing. Not impressed with Delicious Ori. He's fairly run-of-the-mill. He's going to be another Fraser Clark. Although I think Fraser Clark is actually better, just from the eye test. I know he got knocked out in the round last night. Do you think at some point Turkey will get rid of the promoters? Well, he's talked about doing that. Well, he certainly talked about getting the boxing league, not necessarily getting rid of the promoters. I think that as long as the promoters are working with him and they're not being awkward, he's not going to do anything with the promoters. He's going to keep them AO. He's not going to touch them. As long as they're working with him, as long as they're not being awkward and anything like that, he's not going to touch the promoters, I don't think. But if you take a Ben Shalom, who maybe then will start to get awkward, yeah, then you could be talking about, could get interesting then. Also got good defense. Yeah. I mean, Beterbiev, when I was looking at the build up to this fight, and I seen people saying that this is going to be like a Odovalin Morakasiev or a Kasiev Usyk, I was like, not even close. Like it won't even be remotely like that. I mean, that's such a poor comparison. It's not going to be anything like those fights. No way. Stop with all the BS of fighters. Again, I don't think he'll do it. I don't think he'll do it. I think he'll just keep it as is. Oh God, he's got to be in the top 5. Like I said, I don't normally do pound for pound. It's not something I tend to really go for. But yeah, he'll be in the top 5 definitely. 100%. Yeah, he's confident on he's conflicted on what he wants on where he wants to go. WWE is a better option for him. Yeah, I think so. He is, and it would be a good way to bow out. At the same time, the rematch is going to make him an absolute rake of cash. Like he probably got well paid last night. He'll probably get double for that rematch. I think Bivol edged it. Great fight. 2 incredible boxers at the top level. Oh, Usyk still. Oh, definitely Usyk still. 110%. I mean, the size difference alone would just be too much. Way too much. Yeah. Usyk is going to knock Fury out cold this time around. Tyson King is going to say Happy New Year again. Well, if he says Happy New Year this time, then, there won't be anything to worry about necessarily because it'll be, only a couple of days away from New Year's, a little over a week. So if he says it again this time, there won't be any issues. Yeah, it's like Beterbiev had, I think he had over 200 amateur fights, maybe 300, closer to 300. He'd beaten the likes of, no, sorry, he dropped the likes of Alexander Usyk, but he had beaten the likes of Yorniel Dorticos. Fun fact, he knocked Dorticos out in the amateurs. And he'd done all that. Undisputed champion at light heavyweight. He'd won his light heavyweight title within, 15 fights? Less? Thereabouts. So this was not your typical pressure fighter. Yes, that's what Beterbiev is, primarily as a pressure fighter, but he has so many more tools to his game. It just amazed me that people were comparing what this will be like to Zordo versus Bivol or, look at Gacia versus Usyk. I was like, they're poor comparisons. Beterbiev has way better footwork than those guys. He's technically superior to those guys in every which way. He's just not going to let himself get outboxed. He's just not going to follow Dmitry Bivol all around the ring. And if he is, he's not going to be looking to load up and land one big shot that they can see coming a mile away. He's going to be absolutely peppering Dmitry Bivol every chance he gets. And that's exactly what he was doing. Although it wasn't a firefight, the skill of both fighters was magnificent. Tight margins. They was working on a fascinating watch. Big up to G-Man. Thank you, my friend. It was a fascinating... Man, those 12 rounds last night, they went by like that. Who do you got in the rematch? I would say Beterbiev again. That's who I'd be picking. Has a major OP 5 months ago. Yeah, you got to remember that. Like it was a knee injury, wasn't it? Something like that. So he wasn't 100%. This was a guy who, he was not firing on all cylinders. Both got 10 million. Oh, surely they'll get, probably double that. In fact, they'll both probably get their same purses twice over this time around. 100%, because the people are going to be interested to see that. Oh, and he did. No, he did. Thoughts on Callum Walsh? How far do you think he can go? Has potential to be a massive star in Ireland and the US with Dana White backing him. Yeah, he's fighting on UFC Fight Pass. So they're showing a lot of boxing now. And he was in the Tree Arena there a couple of weeks ago. And he headlined against the guy who fought Josh Kelly a couple of years ago. Kelly went the distance with him. And if you haven't seen the knockout from Callum Walsh, it was a good left hook. It was a one-punch knockout. That's the first real time I had a look at him. And I actually liked what I seen. I thought, okay, this kid's got potential. This kid has something, which is something I very seldom see from Irish fighters. Most of them are just fairly basic, fairly run-of-the-mill. And I'm always kind of like, now as soon as they step up, they're screwed. But no, this kid looks good, and he's got, as you said, Dana White back at him. He was struggling on his knee a bit. Wonder how that will affect him. Yeah, like it could affect him more now post fight because you don't know what way it's going to be. But 30-year-old Beterbiev, that would have been, man, that would have been so, because you got to remember, we are not looking at peak Beterbiev. Like that is probably, it's probably not peak Bivol, athletic Bivol anyway, 33 years old, but closer to his prime than Beterbiev is, definitely. All hail our Lord Savior Alexander the Great. Yes, aka pound for pound king, father of Luke, Femi, Triple Knee, aka the final boss. Alexander Usyk is the man. He's the man at heavyweight. Teddy Atlas is not really a fan of Beterbiev because of his boxer Vodsek. He predicted Bivol. His scorecard is 115, 113. Beterbiev, he would be the first in line, and he would be. You're right. You're spot on there. So Teddy Atlas, someone who, again, he wouldn't be singing Beterbiev's praises, to say the least. And he's very vocal when he feels that a fight went to the wrong guy. He's been very vocal in the past. So if anyone was going to be turning around saying, this fight was a robbery, it would be him. It would be a good fight, peak Vodsek versus peak Bivol. That would be a really good fight. That would be a nip and that fight right there. That would really be a nip and tuck affair. Vodsek could be the bigger puncher out of the two, but Bivol probably be the faster. That would be a really good fight. Do you think we could have seen? Do you think what could have been for the Beterbiev legacy if he didn't start late in the pros and had so many years out with promotional issues? Do you remember he was? I think at one stage before those promotional issues, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he was mandatory. Well, the IBF was the first title he picked up, but I'm pretty sure he was mandatory for Kovalev at one point. And that was an undefeated Sergei Kovalev. That was pre-Andre Ward. So if you think about what might have happened had he fought Kovalev back then, I mean, and I think he would have beaten Kovalev personally back then. So, I mean, it's beggars belief what could have actually happened. I think last night was judged on pressure. There was a lot of talk about Usyk coming to cruiserweight if Beterbiev was there. I can't see Usyk. Listen, I think Usyk is done after Fury. What do we say? Crocker versus Donovan. Donovan, definitely. I think I'd be going with Paddy Donovan to win that fight on points, most likely. Don't know why everyone thinks it was a robbery. I thought 7-5 Beterbiev after watching it live. Yeah. And like when you watch it back today, you could look at that and be like, yep, that's fine. That's okay. That's okay. Do you think he beat Andre Ward? I always get a lot of crap over this one because I always say that I felt Andre Ward actually won the first fight. And obviously he stopped Kovalev second time around. They were low. They were definitely low. But I actually scored the first fight to Andre Ward. I watched it and I was like, no, I thought Andre Ward for my money won the fight. Mad to think he lost to Kenny Egan in 2006. Man, when you look at some people's amateur records, you look and you just think like, oh my God, this guy fought this guy and he lost to this guy. That's the amateurs. Like every single fighter loses in the amateurs. And sometimes you'll see losses on there and you're like, he lost to him. And obviously years ago, like Usyk lost to Sean Porter in 2006, thereabouts. I think it was thereabouts. Yes, he did. And I think that would have, because Kovalev was always an on-top fighter, Sergei Kovalev. I loved Kovalev in his prime, but he was always an on-top fighter. He was always a fighter who, when it did get tough, he would complain. He would try and get a little bit rough. And I think against someone like Beterbiev, who hits every bit as hard, probably harder, has a very, very good jab, is bigger than Kovalev, is stronger. Yeah, Kovalev would have been in there for it. You would have had a nightmare. Come to the rematch. I don't know. Will I go to Saudi? Well, I might actually. You never know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Who wins the rematch? Yeah, if he has a better camp, potentially could. Oh, Beterbiev versus Ward. Ward at light heavyweight was definitely past his best. His best days were at 168. I think that just based upon the Ward I seen at 175, as good as he was, Beterbiev would have won. Probably would have won it on points, but I wouldn't rule him out stopping Andre Ward. I'm in the minority, but I thought it was an even draw. No, I perfectly fine with that. I mean, a draw for me when it ended, I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, like if they scored a draw, I'd be like, fine. I'd be like that. Actually, I wouldn't even look and say either guy should be annoyed about that. I'd say that literally that's as good as it's going to be because you could have easily scored a draw. Yeah, I mean, that's just to get money out of Connor. That's all it is. Try and get a payday out of Connor Ben before he eventually, and he'll probably lose to Eubank, and then just there you go. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I think that. Thoughts on Pro Box choosing Conlon Boxing as the main promoter on this side of the Atlantic? That's a good move if it's true. I know Conlon Boxing, they did work with the Zone. Actually, they were working with the Zone, were they not? They were working with the Zone on a couple of shows up in Belfast. So they've gone from the Zone to Pro Box. Interesting. That's a good shout for them. Yeah, I don't know. It was a strange one. I didn't think Beterbiev was cool with him. So when I seen him there, I was like, oh, that's a strange one. President of Chechnya there. Okay. Roman is his first name, I think, and that's obviously we know who he is, the president of Chechnya. Bivol, Smith, Yard, Vodsek, Johnson, Brown, solid resume. Does he stop Canelo? Canelo will be a bit too cute. Actually, it's a very good comparison. That's actually a very good comparison, actually, there. The Hagler Leonard of this current generation. That's a very good comparison, actually. Very good. Ah, I wouldn't say he looked off necessarily. Sarah Metten, I mean, if you're getting buzzed by Sarah Metten, that's really not good. That's really not good if you're getting buzzed by him. Because that guy can't crack an egg. I don't even know if I take him over Lara. I mean, Erislandy Lara is as old as dirt at this stage. But even now, I'm kind of like, would he still have enough in the tank to beat Eubank? Probably would. Probably would. 97 viewers currently in the building. And if you haven't already, like button, please. Need to get those likes up. Need to get those likes up. Need to get the channel recommended more. So 27 likes from 98 viewers. So I need to get those likes up. Need to get the old likes up. So appreciate it if you could hit the old like button. He probably isn't cool with the president, but had to pretend to be there because his family living back in. Of course, yes, of course. You wouldn't know. I remember Shagayev, Ruslan Shagayev. He was cool with him, and I remember he was ringside at a couple of Shagayev's fights over there in Chechnya. In fact, I remember Freza Kendo saying that they were having trouble over there. And you're fighting a guy who is the A fighter, and his best buddy is the president, and he's there ringside. Do you rank? Oh yeah, oh hell yeah, oh yeah. You got to rank him as an all-time great light heavyweight. He definitely is. So thank you. 113 now in the building. If you haven't already, smash that like button. Yeah, Joshua always every day. Addy made a video saying he taught Bivol 5'7" after watching it. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't rule. I'd say yeah. Legit, it's a 5'7" type fight either way. For me, could have went either way that fight. What was that saying? The more I look, the more I think Whittaker quit. Yeah, it definitely looked very sus to me, man. Looked like he was having a hard time in there and he wanted out. Joe Ward is in the National Stadium next Friday. Yeah, badly managed, lost his pro debut under an injury, and he's done literally nothing. Badly advised, badly managed. I never really rated Joe Ward that highly, to be fair, but yeah, badly managed. Very badly managed. I mean, I didn't even know he was fighting next week until you said that. And I thought he might have a little bit of potential, but nah. And he's in his 30s now? Yeah. I think his best days are probably gone. Could prove me wrong. I was getting through. He was. And he was increasing the jab every single round. He could have let his hands go. I think he was worried about being countered. Did you see the video of Clark saying that he wasn't happy with how little padding was in Wardley's gloves? No, I didn't. Wardley uses fly gloves. Now, I know fly gloves have changed over the years. So when I used to like boxing the amateurs, well, so I was a crap. I never really did much. But when I used to more so train, I used to use, I still have them back home, pairs of fly gloves. Now they would have been more a glove that would have been, they wouldn't have been like a winning in a sense if they wouldn't have been that heavily padded, but they were well padded fly gloves and they were known for being good for your hands. They were known for being good for your hands. I know, actually, on that, I know a couple of years ago, the WBC said that they wouldn't sanction any fights where the fighters were using fly gloves. So I wonder, was that something to do with the padding? Have they changed it? I thought the commentary was super biased towards Bivol on Sky. Never watched the Sky commentary. In round seven, Beterbiev well Bivol to one knee, but all they showed, yeah, it seemed as though every broadcaster was biased in favor of one fighter or the other. You know, you had people complaining that the zone were too biased in favor of Bivol. Then you had people saying TNT were too biased in favor of Beterbiev. I miss the days where, but where it was just they tried their best to be objective. I mean, they don't even mask it anymore now. It's gone to the stage now where you watch a fight on any network. They're not even trying to hide it. They're just like, yeah, we've got a horse in the race, tough, you know what. Still, but it's a winnable fight. Winnable fight for Conor Ben. I mean, I've never really been that high on Conor Ben, to be honest with you. Bivol will be pissed up, will be pissed off, but he will end up making a load of money in the rematch. He absolutely will. Injury was career ending. Are we talking about Wadley? Oh, you mean Joe Ward, is it? Or Wadley? Turkey wanted Bivol to win. That's why the commentary was so biased since the Canelo rematch. Actually, that's the Canelo Bivol rematch gone up in flames. That would be a good fight, actually. Hrgovic versus Wadley. Now, the only thing is, though, is Hrgovic, is he still, I suppose he is still up because he was matchroom for the matchroom Queensbury. Now, that would be an interesting fight. And that's actually a good shout there. That's actually a really good shout for a fight there. I didn't think of that. Yeah, Hrgovic is still with matchroom. At least he was last time I checked. Happens immediately. Who would you take? Who has more room to improve? I would take Beterbiev, even at 40. Probably because Beterbiev, again, he wasn't 100% coming into this fight. He obviously had that knee surgery. Which other fights could we see? Well, we're probably going to see Joshua Dubois too. Then what do we do? Then who do we have? I said it once and I'll say it again. I'd like to see prospect versus prospect, so I'd love to see Fisher with Helma. I can't see that happening for a variety of reasons. If Helma gets by Dempsey McKeon, they're not going to go and fight Johnny Fisher. Not that they're afraid, they're just going to have bigger fish to fry. So I can't see them fighting Johnny Fisher, or I can't see Turkey or anyone involved really necessarily wanting to push for that fight. Could be wrong. Could be wrong on that one. I would say, see, when you look at the matchroom stable, you're kind of like, well, what way would you do it? Because I mean, pretty much they put their kind of best and brightest out last time around and they got obliterated. I want a winnable fight for Eubank against Lara, and Ben fight will still be there regardless. It'll always be there. That was going to be a good fight if we get it. Whittaker will never make it to world level, not got the pop. He definitely doesn't have the punching power. You can see that. 100%. I think so. I wonder if we would get. Do you know? I've seen Anthony Yard, and do you know what it is, right? I don't want to sound like a you know what with this. But there's an interview with Anthony Yard on Tunde Ajayi's YouTube channel, and I just kind of laughed. It's like your first interview since this whole contractual thing, and you give it to your manager and trainer's YouTube channel. You know the way people say like they don't ask hard enough questions. You're literally on your advisor's YouTube channel. Stay down, stay down. They knew what was up. Who the hell was he fighting in white collar? Yeah, I'd love to know what happened to them. If I'm Dubois, I wouldn't jump in for a rematch. He's the champ in the A side. He is the champ in the A side. And if I was him, I'd be acting like the champ in the A side. I'd be saying, you're paying me the lion's share. I'm walking to the ring second. Everything. Yeah, that might be a good fight to make, actually. A Jagba versus Wadley. Both can punch. A Jagba is technically quite poor. Don't know how good his chin is, but he can punch like a you-know-what. So that would actually be a good fight. 123 in the building, people, if you haven't already. bang that like button, hit that like button as quick and as hard as you can. Must be paying them top dollar. Yeah, look, if you're talking about the shows they're doing, or like the shows in the shows they're doing on some of these Saudi shows, I flip and hate them. I cannot emphasize it enough. I hate them. I just don't get why they do them. And people say like the Saudi shows could be better. Well, one way to make them better would be if you wanted to get more fights on it or better fights on it. The money they're paying these guys to perform, and big up to Lee inside the distance every time, man. Shout out to you, my friend. I hope you're keeping well. One of the better ways to actually make the shows better would be to, put that money that you're paying Buster Rhymes, Missy Elliott into actually, getting more fights on. It wasn't looking good for Whittaker. No, it was not. It was not looking good for Whittaker in there. Has yet another heavyweight contender. I mean, Frank Warren has just like the heavyweight division. If Fury does beat Usyk, I mean, Frank Warren has it. The heavyweight division is pretty much his. If Fury beats Alexander Usyk this time around, I mean, he is running the heavyweight division now at this point. Is all Frankie boy. Is all Frankie boy. He is so Frank Warren is like a cat with 9 lives. I mean, he just does not stop. I don't know how it's remarkable, really, because Hearn is going through a bad patch now, and I don't see Hearn having the same fight and dog in him that Frank Warren has. And Frank Warren went through a bad patch for years. I think if that was Hearn, he'd be gone. I'd love to know, man. Doesn't seem like there's anything on the horizon. I don't think, mate, he's done himself any favors and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean in a sense of he's won 2 fights, good wins, but not looking entertaining in either of them. And at the end of the day, and I mean this with no disrespect, boxing is entertainment. They were just not entertaining those fights. Yeah. Or potentially, I wouldn't put him in with Ortiz because that'd be just crap. And Ortiz is old as dirt, man. I think you're right. I seen Ade suggest that, and I think that would be actually a good guy to put him in there with a good gauge. Otto Valian seems to take a decent shot. Like he wasn't down against Anthony Joshua. We took plenty of shots, but never went down. Frank Warren, karma always happens. I'm a big believer in karma. I'm a bigger believer in karma. All that nonsense, Mr. Salam. We all see what happened. Well, I can't say I believe in karma necessarily, but it was a particularly bad night for Ben Shalom. So maybe there you go. There you go. Just think of the big name on his record. Yeah, that would be an absolute shootout. I doubt they'd ever do it. I doubt they'd ever do that. Would create more hype. They'd never put him in there. They'll rebuild Jared Anderson slowly. They'll rebuild him very slowly. They won't put him in there. No way. No way. Not Jared Anderson. I mean, he'd need to turn back the years. I think it's going to be a typical Jack Cattrall 12-round unanimous decision type job. That is what that is. I mean, there's a reason why he's still doing the shows in the UK, and there's not even a mention of him getting on any of these Saudi shows. There's just no way. There's just no way they put him on the set. He'd stink the place out. Right now, I wouldn't pick him. That's just me. Right now, I wouldn't pick him right now. Not to say he can't win, but I certainly wouldn't be picking him right now. Not me. No. Could prove me wrong. Could prove me wrong. The people, I only planned on going live for about 40 minutes because I actually have to get Review of the Week recorded. I don't want to just pop out and just kind of clear the head, so to speak. Clear the head, so to speak. Not that I need to necessarily, but it's been the first week here, and still getting acclimatized to everything, still seeing how everything is going. So for me, it's kind of like, get things ready for tomorrow and then just see how it goes. I'm back home in December for a couple of weeks. And honestly, I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to going back home for a couple of weeks. I really am. I cannot wait. But we're going to see how this week goes. Hopefully it goes well. And yeah, but we'll see how things go from then on. But people, I'm going to leave that there. Let me know your thoughts on everything. I will chat to you later for Review of the Week. And people, as always, smash the like button on the way out. 50 likes from 130 people. We can do that. 132 concurrent viewers, and I'm better to finish up. Come on, we can do that. So, people, I appreciate everyone locking in. Hope you all have a great evening. Smash that like button on the way in or on the way out. You always know that. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Peace.